Guðrúnarkviða II Hin Forna, the second or Old Lay of Guðrún. It has already been pointed out, introductory note to Guðrúnarkviða I, that the tradition of Guðrún's laments was known wherever the Sigurd story existed, and that this lament was probably one of the earliest parts of the legend to assume verse form. Whether it reached the Norse as verse cannot, of course, be determined, but it is at least possible that this was the case. And in any event, it is clear that by the 10th and 11th centuries, there were a number of Norse poems with Guðrún's laments as the central theme. Two of these are included in the Edda collection, the second one being unquestionably much the older. It is evidently the poem referred to by the annotator in the prose note following the brot as the Old Guðrún Lay, and its character and state of preservation have combined to lead most commentators to date it as early as the first half of the 10th century, whereas Guðrúnarkviða I belongs 100 years later. The poem has evidently been preserved in rather bad shape, with a number of serious omissions and some interpolations, but in just this form it lay before the compilers of the Volsunga saga, who paraphrased it faithfully and quoted 5 of its stanzas. The interpolations are on the whole unimportant. The omissions, while they obscure the sense of certain passages, do not destroy the essential continuity of the poem, in which Guðrún reviews her sorrows from the death of Sigurd through the slaying of her brothers to Atli's dreams foretelling the death of their sons. It is indeed the only Norse poem of the Sigurd cycle antedating the year 1000 which has come down to us in anything approaching complete form. The Regnsmál, Fafnismál, and Sigdrafumál are all collections of fragments. Only a short bit of the long Sigurd lay remains, and others, Gurpispa, Guðrúnarkviða I and III, Sigurdarkviða in Skama, Helræth Grímhildr, Oddrunargratr, Guðrúnarkviða, Hamthasmál, and the 2 Atli lays are all generally dated from the 11th and even the 12th centuries. An added reason for believing that Guðrúnarkviða II traces its origins to a lament which reached the north from Germany in verse form is the absence of most characteristic Norse additions to the narrative, except in minor details. Sigurd is slain in the forest, as German men say. See Brot, concluding prose. The urging of Guðrún by her mother's second brothers to become Atli's wife. The slaying of the Gjúkings, here only intimated, for at that point something seems to have been lost. And Guðrún's prospective revenge on Atli. All belong directly to the German tradition. See introductory note to Gurpispa. In the Codex Regius, the poem is entitled simply Guðrúnarkviða. The numeral has been added in nearly all editions to distinguish this poem from the other 2 Guðrún lays, and the phrase "the old" is borrowed from the annotator's comment in the prose note at the end of the brot. Guðrúnarkviða II Hin Forna. King Þjóðrekr was with Atli and had lost most of his men. Þjóðrekr and Guðrún lamented their griefs together. She spoke to him, saying, "A maid of maids my mother bore me, bride to my bower, my brothers I loved, till Gjúki dowered me with gold, and to Sigurd gave me. So Sigurd rose o'er Gjúki's sons, as the leek grows green above the grass, or the stag o'er all the beasts doth stand, or as glow red gold above silver grey. till my brothers let me no longer have the best of heroes my husband to be. Sleep they could not, or quarrel settle, till Sigurd they at last had slain. From the thing run Grani went thundering feet, but thence did Sigurd himself come never. Covered with sweat was the saddle-bearer, won't the warriors wait to bear. Weeping I sought with Grani to speak, with tear-wet cheeks for the tale I asked. The hud of Grani was bowed to the grass, the steed knew well his master was slain. Long I waited and pondered well, ere ever the king for tidings to ask. His head bowed Gunnarr, but Högni told the news full sore of Sigurd slain. Hewed to death at their hands he lies, Guthrum slayer given to wolves. On the southern road thou shalt Sigurd see, where here thou canst the ravens cry. The eagles cry as food they crave, and about thy husband wolves are howling. Why dost thou, Högni, such a horror? Let me hear all joyless left. Ravens let thy heart shall rend, in a land that never thou hast known. Few the words of Högni were, bitter his heart from heavy sorrow. Greater, Guðrún, thy grief shall be, if the ravens so my heart shall rend. From whom he spake, I turned me soon in the woods to find what thy wolves had left. Tears I had not, nor wrung my bonds, nor wailing went as other women, when by Sigurd slain I sat. Never so black had seemed the night, as when in sorrow by Sigurd I sat. The wolves. Best of all me thought 'twould be, if I my life could only lose, or like to birchwood burned might be. From the mountain forth 5 days I fared, till Hrolf's hall so high I saw. 7 years with Thora I stayed, Hakon's daughter in Denmark then. With gold she broidered to me bring joy, southern halls and Danish swans. On the tapestry wove we warriors' deeds, and the heroes' thanes on our handiwork. Flashing shields and fighters armed, sword throng, helm throng, the host of the king. Sigmund's ship by the land was sailing, golden the figurehead, gay the beaks. On board we wove the warriors faring, Sigurd and Sigurd and south to Fjon. Then Grímhildr asked the Gothic queen whether willingly would I her needlework cast she aside and called her sons to ask with stern resolve, who amends to their sister would make for her son, or the wife requite for her husband killed. Ready was Gunnarr gold to give, amends for my hurt, and Högni too. Then would she know who now would go, the horse to saddle, the wagon to harness, the horse to ride, the hawk to fly, and shafts from bows of yew to shoot. Valdar, king of the Danes, was come, with Jarizlef, Imoth, and Jarizkar. In like princes came they all, the long-bearded men with mantles red, short with mail coats, mighty their helms, swords at their belts, and brown their hair. Each to give me gifts was fain, gifts to give and goodly speech, comfort so for my sorrows great, To bring they tried, but I trusted them not. A draught did Grímhildr give me to drink. Bitter and cold, I forgot my cares, for mingled therein was magic earth, ice-cold sea, and the blood of swine. In the cup were runes of every kind, written and reddened, I could not read them. A heatherfish from the Hoddings land, a ear uncut, and the entrails of beasts. Much evil was brewed within the beer, blossoms of trees and acorns burned, dew of the hearth and holy entrails, the liver of swine, all grief to allay. Then I forgot when the draught they gave me, there in the hall my husband slaying. On their knees the kings all three did kneel, ere she herself to speak began. Guthrum gold to thee I give, the wealth that once thy father's was, rings to have in Hrothver's halls, and the hangings all that the monarch had. Hunnish woman, skilled in weaving, who gold make fair to give thee joy, and the wealth of Buðli thine shall be, gold-decked one as Atli's wife. Guðrún spake, a Hunnish now I will not have, nor wife of Brynhild's brother be. It beseems me not with Buðli's sons, happy to be and heirs to bear. Grimhildr spake, speak not on women to avenge thy sorrows, though the blame at first with us hath been. Happy shalt be as if both shall live, Sigurd and Sigmund, if sons thou bearest. Guthrum spake, Grimhildr I may not gladness find, nor hold forth hopes to heroes now, since once the raven and ravening wolf Sigurd's heart's blood hungrily lapped. Grimhildr spake, noblest of birth is the ruler now, I have found of thee, and foremost of all, him shalt thou have while life thou hast, or husbandless be, if him thou wilt choose not. Guthrum spake, seek not so eagerly me to send, to be a bride of yon baneful race. On Gunnar first his wrath shall fall, and the heart will be teared from Högni's breast. Weeping, Grimhildr heard the words, the fateful sore for her sons foretold, and mighty woe for them should work. Lands I give thee, with all that live there, Finnbjörg is thine, and Valbjörg too. Have them forever, but hear me, daughter. So must I do as the kings besought, and against my will for my kinsman wed. Ne'er with my husband joy I had, and my sons by my brother's fate were saved not. I could not rest till of life I had robbed the warrior bold, the maker of battles. Soon on horseback each hero was, and the foreign women in wagons faring. A week through lawns so cold we went, and a second week the waves we smote, and a third through lawns the water locked. The warders now on the lofty walls opened the gates, and in we rode. Atli woke me, for ever I seemed of bitterness full for my brother's death. Atli spake, now from sleep the Norris have waked me, With visions of terror to thee will I tell them. Methought thou Guðrún, Gjúki's daughter, with poison blade didst pierce my body.
Guðrún spake, Fire a dream of steel shall follow, and wilful pride one of women's wrath. A baneful sore I shall burn from thee, and tend and heal thee, though hated thou am.
Atli spake, Of plants I dreamed in the garden drooping, that fain would I have full high to grow, plucked by the roots and red with blood. They brought them hither and bade me eat. I dreamed my hawks from my hand had flown, eager for food to an evil house. I dreamed their hearts with honey I ate, soaked in blood and heavy my sorrow. Hounds I dreamed from my hand I loosed, loud in hunger and pain they howled. Their flesh methought was eagle's food, and their bodies now I needs must eat.
Guðrún spake, Men shall soon of sacrifice speak, and off the heads of beasts shall hew. Die they shall ere day is dawned, a few nights hence, and the folk shall have them.
Atli spake, On my bed I sank, nor slumber sought, weary with woe, full well I remember.